Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nora, and today I'm going to be going over 5 things that you need to know before visiting the Amalfi Coast. I was at the Amalfi Coast in October of last year. It was so stunning. It's such a beautiful trip. I was so excited about it because I've heard so much about Amalfi and so many great things, but there's definitely some things you need to know, like that you can't just go there and expect everything to work out. Like, it does require a little bit of planning. So these are all the things that I wish I knew before going, and I would definitely recommend taking into account before you go. So when people think of the Amalfi Coast, they usually think or picture one of 2 places. They either picture the literal town of Amalfi or they picture Positano. These are kind of the stunning, cute villages and the cliffs and the villages built up on the cliffs. And those places are absolutely beautiful. But you do not need to stay there, especially if you're traveling on a budget. Amalfi and particularly Positano are so expensive. They're probably like the most expensive spots on the whole Amalfi Coast. And in my opinion, are they worth it? Do you get a better experience by staying in Positano or Amalfi? I don't really know. There's much cheaper, quainter, quieter towns that you can go to, and then you can take day trips to Positano or Amalfi, but you can save so much money. This is what my group did. We stayed in Minori, and it was a very quiet little beach town, and we took ferries to Positano and to Amalfi and spent the day there. And in my opinion, that worked out great. The lodging was way cheaper. The ferries are great. They're very easy to navigate and easy to figure out where you're going and all of those things. And the towns are very walkable. Like, you can easily get from one town, or you can get around town pretty easily. Here we are in Positano. We did kind of walk up a mountain.
Yeah, we did.
There's lots of people. The streets are very small, but by golly, is it pretty. So even though, you see on these beautiful social media sites, like these stunning hotels and different things like that, if you're traveling at all on a budget, you can still experience how beautiful these places are without staying at Positano. So my recommendation, Minori, or even Sorrento. Sorrento is a bigger city. It's like the biggest city in the area. And because of that, like, there's a lot more amenities and it's a little bit cheaper. But like I said, the ferries are so good that you can easily get from Sorrento to Positano or Amalfi. My next piece of advice would honestly be that I don't recommend a rental car. The roads in Amalfi are pretty scary. All of Amalfi is pretty much on a cliff, and the whole coast is these little towns and villages built into the cliffs, which makes the driving legitimately so stressful. I never drove. We were in a gigantic tour bus, and I, to this day, like, don't know how our tour bus didn't crash. There were some really close calls, and you should leave that driving like to the experts. You should leave it to the people that are there all the time. The driving is really, really intense. And like I said before, the ferry system is so good that you really like don't need to rent a car on the ferry.
On the ferry, here we go.
Towns are really small. You're gonna be spending most of your time near the beach anyways. So I actually like don't really recommend getting a rental car. I think that it would be more trouble than it's worth. Just take the ferries and walk. Okay, my next rec is that you should definitely be prepared for crowds. And if crowds are something that really detract from your experience, you should seek out places where there are no crowds or there are less crowds. Places like Positano and Amalfi are gonna be really crowded no matter what. Positano is beautiful, but this is very, very, very busy. We were there in October, which is technically the start of off season, and even then they were all super, super crowded. So like I said about lodging, you should spread out where you go. Definitely brave Positano and Amalfi because I think you should see them, but spend time in Minori, take ferries to the different islands like Capri. There's ways to kind of circumvent the crowds in a way that doesn't detract from your experience. Also, be okay taking like the later ferries, and be okay getting up early. We got up early on our trip, and there was truly like no one out ever. It was very, very quiet in the morning, which sometimes led to beautiful sunrises and sunsets as well. Okay, my next thing that I think you should definitely know before visiting Amalfi is that you're gonna be walking a lot.
The first thing we're doing here is walking to a little tower. It's like a quick little walk. It's supposed to have nice views.
Most of the towns are built into like these really stiff cliff sides, and the towns are all on a hill. So just be super comfortable walking, wear good shoes. If you're a person that like you can't really walk up a hill or you have mobility issues, I would definitely make arrangements for that. There's also a lot to do right along the coast. So if you don't really want to walk up or you can't really walk up some of these places, there's tons of beach clubs and restaurants that are accessible. But if you want to explore the towns, you will have to hike up some steps probably. But if you're able to and you're willing to, the best views are usually from the top. The best views are really, really stunning. So just take that into account. And then my last piece of advice is that most of the beaches are not free. The beaches in the Amalfi Coast are actually kind of small. They're not massive, huge beaches like you would have in the Caribbean or Asia or even the United States. They are much smaller because there's a cliff, there's mountains. So a lot of the beaches are kind of taken up by these beach clubs, and you have to pay for like a chair or to sit or anything like that. There are ways to circumnavigate this though. Of course, if you want to just spend the money and have an experience at a beach club, that's completely fine. But if you want to go to free beaches, thinking about places like Minori, Maori, smaller areas can be really, really good.
Got in. It wasn't actually as bad as I thought it was gonna be. It was kind of warm.
I think, and maybe this is a really hot take, but out of all the beaches that I visited, I think that you kind of get the same effect from all of them. Like, I think they all are beautiful and you get beautiful views of them, and I don't necessarily think that the beaches in Positano or Amalfi are prettier than the beaches in any other place. I think they're just the ones that are right next to the really pretty towns. Okay, and my last point is gonna be just a push for you to still travel to Capri.
Our time in Capri is almost done. This is one of my favorite things we've done in Italy so far.
Spent a lot of money.
Yeah, we did. But it was great. If you come to Capri, what would you recommend?
Definitely going to the top like we did.
Yeah.
It was very nice up there. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I recommend the cable cars. They were cool.
Out of all the places on the Amalfi Coast, Capri was both my favorite and my mom's favorite. She was who I was traveling with. And Capri, even if it's crowded, even if it's not a good day, even if it takes a little bit extra to get to because you have to take a ferry there, Capri is 100% worth it. Capri was genuinely like one of the prettiest, most stunning places I've ever been. Like, I didn't know that places that pretty existed. And despite everything I've said and despite all these things you have to keep in mind, I definitely think that Capri is worth the hype, and you should actively try to experience a place like Capri because it is truly like so beautiful, and I cannot recommend enough. So that was my Amalfi Coast things to keep in mind. If you're interested in an itinerary, let me know. I can share our whole trip as well as any advice planning, looking through your itineraries, anything like that. I'm happy to help, and if you leave a question down below, I will get back to you. I will see you for the next adventure. Bye.